1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ. I'm the only person in the world who has been revealed to what this actually means. So if you know anybody that talks about the 1,000-year reign, send them this video. Come check out my other videos. Give me a follow. I've got everything leading up to and about this and after this, during this, all of it. But let's start out with the word 1,000. That's actually just a simple translation error, which I'll get into as we go along in this video. But what was the reign of Christ? Whatever Jesus said on earth is what the book of Revelation is about. So what was the reign of Christ? He said whenever he came back in the glory of his Father with all of his holy angels, then he would sit down on the throne of his glory. What's that? That's the reign of Christ. He said whenever he did that, they would be given 12 thrones to judge the 12 tribes of Israel. Right? He said again that they would sit down in his kingdom with him, sup at his table, and sit upon thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what it means in the book of Revelation, whenever he said that as he sat down on his Father's throne, they would sit down on the throne with him, and they would break the nations into shivers. This is Israel being destroyed. And when did this happen? 66 AD, on the 21st day of Artemisius, as is recorded in history. In 66 AD, there were armies and chariots and soldiers running on the clouds in shining armor, circling the cities in Israel. When? Exactly whenever Jesus said that it would happen. He said that they would preach the gospel, therefore, right, to all nations, and then the end would come. Therefore, when they saw the abomination of desolation, or as Luke said, whenever they saw the armies come to Jerusalem, flee Judea. The gospel preachers would preach until the armies came, and then they would flee. No more gospel preachers. Now, this video is about the 1,000-year reign. If I really got into it, this video would be an hour long, because the 1,000-year reign isn't just something you can say in a couple sentences. It's basically what all the words and the wrath of Jesus was about, and a third, maybe 2/3 of Revelation is about the reign of Christ. So what were all the nations that they preached the gospel to? On the day of Pentecost, they were there, dwelling at Jerusalem, Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Go read Acts chapter 2. That was every nation. Now, once they preached to them, like Jesus said, whenever they saw the armies come, they were done preaching. Flee Judea. Get out. Look up, for your redemption draws nigh. Then they would see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds, which happened in 66 AD. Another point, we know that the reign of Christ and the 1,000-year reign already happened because Jesus said some of them standing there with him whenever he was alive would not die or taste death until they saw the Son of Man coming in his kingdom to reward every man according to their works. Every man was not rewarded according to their works until after the 1,000-year reign. Now, some people didn't die until then. They didn't live to be 1,000 years old. Some people did not die until after the reign of Christ. Again, we know that Satan was defeated back then because Jesus said 2,000 years ago, now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. The prince of this world is coming and has nothing in me, and of judgment because the prince of the world is judged. When did that happen? Revelation chapter 12. Jesus was caught up to the throne to God. There was war in heaven. Michael and the angels fought against the dragon. Dragon against the angels. The dragon's tail drew a third part of the stars, cast into the earth. Satan saw that he was cast down, knew that he had but a short time, chased the woman into the wilderness. When was Satan cast down? 66 AD. When did the woman flee into the wilderness for 1,260 days? 66 AD. When did Jesus Christ come in his kingdom? 66 AD. This is a very simple translation error. The original book of Revelation would have been written in Hebrew. These scholars and people today talk, oh no, it was written in Greek. No, it wasn't. He found that a couple hundred years later written in Greek. Jesus was a Jewish Messiah. He spoke Hebrew. He read the Hebrew scriptures. In the first century, some people say Daniel wasn't written in Hebrew, but the rest of the prophets and all were written in Hebrew and only written in Hebrew in the first century. And the book of Revelation is about those prophecies. Anything that you find in Revelation, you find in the prophets in the Old Testament, whether the 4 horsemen or the olive trees or whatever it is, it's there. It comes from back there. That's why I said you've tried them, which say they are Jews and are not, and have found them liars. Imagine a Jewish Messiah not speaking Hebrew in the first century. Imagine the apostles not speaking Hebrew. They spoke Hebrew. They read Hebrew scriptures. Even whenever Paul, who was very learned, a Roman, a Herodian, very learned, a Pharisee, right? Even whenever he was speaking to the ruler said, hey, can I talk with you? The ruler said, can you speak Greek? Like, would have been amazed because Paul could speak Greek. That's how, there weren't a lot of Hebrews out there speaking Greek like everybody thinks. Anyway, one of the words for 1,000 in Hebrew was Eleph, and this is the same word as tribes, just like Jesus said on earth. He said whenever he returned in his kingdom, they would be given 12 thrones to judge the 12 Eleph of Israel. It could have been the exact same word. So, whenever Revelation was written in Hebrew, it said Eleph, and reign is judgment. Same word for reign is judgment. Same word for 1,000 is tribes. So it was the judgment of the tribes. Jesus Christ did a short work on the earth, delivered the kingdom back to the Father. What was the reign of Christ? It was judging the 12 tribes of Israel. That's whenever he sat on his throne. That's whenever they sat down on thrones with him, and they judged the 12 tribes of Israel. So again, the word Eleph can be translated because Hebrew was letters and numbers. So Eleph, whenever the translators translated it, they look at this word, and now if they translate it as a number, it means 1,000. If they translate it as a word, it means tribes. Now Satan was thrown into the bottomless pit. When? Whenever he chased the woman into the wilderness in 66 AD, the earth swallowed up the flood that Satan cast out of his mouth, and they had a place prepared away from the face of the serpent. He could not deceive the nations any longer. So what did he do? He gave his power to the beast. So while he was in the bottomless pit, he gave his power unto the beast. Satan gave the beast his power, his seat, and great authority. That's why Satan had 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast had 7 heads and 10 horns. So what was the reign of Christ and what was his wrath? Whenever the Gentile armies came to Jerusalem in 66 AD, there was great wrath upon this people, the Jews. That was the wrath of the Lamb. Jesus Christ got power over the nations, and he defeated Israel. He reigned, and they broke them into shivers. They judged the 12 tribes of Israel. Just like it said in Revelation. As Jesus said on earth, whenever the Gentiles came, there would be great wrath upon that people. The Gentiles would trample the city underfoot until the times of the Gentiles were fulfilled. In Revelation, it tells you how long that would be. John, arise, measure the temple, the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court that is without the temple leave out, for it's given unto the Gentiles, and they shall trample the holy city underfoot for 42 months. Now, as they were doing that with the wrath of the Lamb, that's the wrath of the Lamb, the iron kingdom, the rod of iron. He got power over Rome to destroy Israel. So as they were doing that for 42 months, ruling and reigning with Christ, and using Rome to break Israel into shivers, Israel, the beast, was falling by the edge of the sword and being led away captive into all nations. And the beast was given power to continue for 42 months and blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, because they sat in the temple for 42 months. And they fell by the edge of the sword, and they were led away captive into all nations. Then at the end of the war, Satan was let back up out of his pit, and he gathered the armies together with the beast and the false prophet. He was the 8th head on the beast. He was of the 7, went into perdition, right? Whenever he came back up out, he gathered all of Jerusalem, all of Israel together for Passover for this final siege. This is Armageddon. It means Hill of Megiddo. It was a siege that happened whenever the Israelites were delivered from Egypt, right? And then the Egyptians went up and sieged Megiddo in the valley of Megiddo, built walls around them and stuff. Well, Satan gathered all of Israel together, and they all came to Israel. And if you look up Gog and Magog, which happens after the 1,000-year reign, you look up Gog and Magog, it'll tell you that they fell on the hills of Jerusalem. So he gathered them together for Armageddon, for the hill of Megiddo, and just like Egypt did, they built walls around them. As Jesus said on earth, he walked up to that Jerusalem and he wept. He said, since you didn't know the time of your visitation, the armies are going to come and compass them round, cast a trench about them, keep them in on every side, and lay them even with the ground and their children within them. Behold, or not one stone would be left upon another. And that's what the Romans did. They built a wall around them, kept them in on every side, sieged them for about 5 months. Right? And they brought all Israel from all over the world there. And this video is a whole lot longer than I wanted it to be. Like I said, there's just so much that you can say about the reign of Christ, but it's just a bad translation. It doesn't mean 1,000, it means tribes. And then after he was done, see, I don't have enough time on this. Like I said, check out my other videos. Go check out my YouTube. It's my name, Derek Jester, and I explain everything, all this stuff intricately. But one more point. Jesus said not one jot or tittle would pass from the law until heaven and earth passed away. Well, we see that there's a new heaven and a new earth after the 1,000-year reign, after Satan's defeated, thrown into the lake of fire, which Isaiah chapter 27 will tell us that happened whenever the altar was burned. Right? So then there's a new heaven, new earth, because they went up into New Jerusalem and they've been in heaven the whole time. But I'm almost out of time. This is the last point. Jesus said heaven and earth would not pass. He said not one jot or tittle would pass from the law until heaven and earth passed away. Well, the temple was destroyed. The sacrifice was taken away. All that's done. The genealogy's gone. The priesthood's gone. No Levites. Heaven and earth passed. We know that all this stuff already happened. Like I said, go check out my other videos. I ran out of time on this one. But yeah, it was just a bad translation. It's not 1,000, it's tribes. It's simple.